In the quiet of a dimly lit room, surrounded by the weight of time, we begin where stories first took root, in the human voice. Long before the written word, before the printed page, stories were passed down through memory, through breath, through the echo of a voice. Oral histories are more than memory. They are an act of resistance, of preservation, of asserting that some things are worth remembering. To listen is to honor the past, to give space to the stories that shaped it, and to understand that we are all still part of that same story. Oral histories are not just stories. They are the raw, unfiltered memory of a people. They carry the weight of experience, the echoes of ancestors, and the pulse of a culture's soul. In the absence of written records, these stories were passed down through generations, shaped by memory, repetition, and the human need to remember. Each tale is more than words. It is a living archive, a bridge between the past and the present, a way of making the intangible tangible. Oral histories are not static. They evolve, adapt, and change, yet still retain the core truth of the memory they carry. To listen to an oral history is to listen to the voice of the past, speaking through the present, urging us to remember, to honor, and to carry forward. You might not think about the past when you're scrolling through your phone, but oral histories are the invisible threads that hold your identity together. Every story you've ever heard, from your grandmother's tales to the myths of your ancestors, is a map of who you are. These stories aren't just entertainment. They're the way we make sense of our world. They are how we remember, how we teach, and how we preserve the wisdom of those who came before us. When we listen to these stories, we are not just hearing the past, we are engaging with the present. Every voice adds a layer to the story of who we are today. In a world that moves so fast, it's easy to forget that we are all part of a long and winding conversations. Oral histories remind us that we are not just here for a moment. We are part of something much larger. The earliest oral histories were not stories told for entertainment, but for survival. They preserve knowledge of the land, the seasons, and the people who lived within them. These tales were passed down through generations, ensuring that wisdom was not lost with time. In ancient Mesopotamia, scribes carved words into clay tablets, but before that, oral traditions held the same power. The Epic of Gilgamesh, one of the oldest known stories, was first told around fires, before being written down in cuneiform. In Africa, griots preserved history through song and speech, becoming living archives of their people's past. Their oral traditions were both memory and myth, blending the real with the sacred. As societies grew, so did the need for more structured storytelling. Monasteries in medieval Europe became repositories of oral and written history, with monks reciting and recording the past to ensure it would not be forgotten. The oral tradition did not fade with the rise of the written word. It evolved, adapting to new mediums and contexts. Today, oral histories are still vital, especially in communities where stories are the foundation of identity. Imagine sitting around a fire with your grandpa telling you a story. That's how humans have always shared our history, by talking, listening, and remembering. Before books or cameras, we used our voices to keep our stories alive. We told them so our kids would know who we were and where we came from. Even now, when we talk to our grandmas or hear a tale from a stranger, we're continuing that old tradition. We're passing down our stories. Oral histories aren't just old stories. They're the heartbeat of our past, still beating in the way we share and remember. The first step in an oral history project is establishing a foundation of trust and clarity between the interviewer and the storyteller. This begins with a shared understanding of what is being asked and what is being offered. Before the interview begins, the interviewer must explain the purpose, the process, and the expectations. This is not just a formality. It is an act of respect for the story being shared. This setup is not about control. It is about creation. It is a delicate balance between the interviewer's curiosity and the storyteller's vulnerability, both of which must be honored. In this moment, the past is not just remembered, it is made present. The setup is the first step in a journey that bridges generations, cultures, and the very essence of human experience. The mechanism begins with the speaker, whose voice becomes the vessel through which memory is carried. This voice is not just a tool, but a sacred instrument, shaped by breath, tone, and rhythm. The listener, in turn, becomes the bridge between past and present. Their attention is not passive. It is an act of reverence, a conscious choice to hold the story in their heart. The story is not simply heard, it is felt. It moves through the body, carried by the pulse of the speaker and the breath of the listener, creating a shared rhythm that transcends time. This exchange is not one of ownership, but of responsibility. The speaker holds the past, while the listener carries it forward, ensuring it does not fade into silence. In this way, the mechanism of oral history becomes a living circuit, a continuous flow of memory and meaning, passed from one generation to the next. The clever twist comes when the story is not just told, but transformed. The narrator may introduce a new perspective, a hidden truth, or a surprise that shifts the meaning of what was previously understood. This twist is not mere shock. It is a revelation, a recontextualization that invites the listener to reconsider the story's meaning. It often relies on a shift in tone, a new detail, or a previously unspoken implication. This method of storytelling is rooted in the human need to make sense of the world. The twist is not only a narrative device, but a reflection of how we process, reinterpret, and pass on knowledge across generations. In this way, oral storytelling becomes a living, breathing archive. The clever twist ensures that the story is never static. It evolves, adapts, and survives through the power of human memory and imagination. Beneath the surface of oral tradition lies a science of memory, encoded in rhythm and repetition. Our ancestors, with no written language, developed cognitive tools to preserve knowledge across generations. Neuroscience now reveals that oral storytelling activates regions of the brain linked to memory, emotion, and empathy, the same areas that fire when we experience a story firsthand. These patterns, chants, refrains, call and response, are not just poetic devices, but evolutionary mechanisms designed to reinforce memory and transmit complex information across time. The science of memory is not a new discovery. It is the foundation upon which oral traditions have always stood. We are still learning to read the language of the mind that our ancestors mastered long ago. To listen to an oral history is to witness the quiet force of memory, a force that has shaped our species, preserved our truths, and carried our stories through the dark. Imagine a river flowing with stories, not just words, but the weight of memory and meaning. It carries the past, shaped by those who came before, and it moves forward, ever changing, ever deepening. Oral history is like that river. It is not static, not fixed, but alive, carrying the voices of those who once spoke, and the silence that follows their words. To listen to an oral history is to stand on the bank, watching the river flow, knowing that each ripple is a story, each current a memory, and each shore a new beginning. It is not about preserving the past in a perfect form, but about honoring the way stories have always been passed down. Imperfect, evolving, and deeply human. In this way, oral history is not just a record. It is a conversation across time, a bridge between generations, built on trust, memory, and the quiet power of voice. Comment this emoji if you made it to the end. You ever look at a book and feel like you're holding a piece of someone else's life? Like the words are not just ink on paper, but echoes of a person who once lived. It's strange how a single sentence can make you feel like you've been there, seen it, and felt it. Like, memory isn't just what you remember, but what you're told to remember. We write to remember, but sometimes it's the stories we read that help us remember who we are, what we've lost, what we've held on to, and what we've never quite let go. Books don't just tell stories. They shape the way we see ourselves, the way we carry our past, and the way we try to imagine the future. And so, we begin, not with a bang, but with a whisper. A whisper that says, what if the words we read could help us remember who we are? We are talking about more than just words on a page. We're talking about how stories become the scaffolding of who we are, how they hold our memories like fragile, sacred things. Literature is a mirror. Not a polished one, but a cracked one that reflects the truths we don't always want to see. It forces us to confront our past, to piece together the fragments of our lives. Every word is a thread, woven into the fabric of our identity. Some threads are bright and bold, others are frayed and faded, but together they make up the tapestry of who we have become. In the written word, we find both memory and meaning. It is a vessel for the past, a guide for the present, and a beacon for the future, sometimes even a reckoning with the self. This is not just about books. It's about the way we carry our stories, how we shape them, and how they, in turn, shape us. It's about the quiet, sacred act of remembering. You think you know your own story, but words have already shaped it, without you even realizing it. Every memory you hold is a fragment of a story someone else once wrote about you, or you wrote about yourself. When you read a story, you're not just reading words, you're stepping into a world that might have once been yours, or that you've always dreamed of being part of. Literature doesn't just tell stories. It reminds us of who we are, even when we forget. So maybe you don't know it, but you already care. You just haven't realized it yet. In the flicker of firelight, the first stories were etched into stone, whispered to the wind, and carried by the hands of those who knew how to remember. Then came the scribes, the keepers of the past, who bound words in clay, in papyrus, in parchment, and in the fragile promise of survival. Each page was a step deeper into the unknown, a bridge from one mind to another, a way to hold time in the shape of letters. From the oral traditions of the griots to the silent revolutions of the printing press, words became the scaffolding of who we are. And now, in this digital age, we are both writers and readers, carrying the weight of stories that define us and the silence that follows. Imagine you're holding a book, and every page is a memory you've never forgotten. It's like your brain wrote a story, and you're reading it aloud. The words don't just tell you who you are, they hold you. Like a warm blanket on a cold night, they remind you of the things you love and the things you lost. When you read, you're not just looking at words, you're looking at yourself. You're looking at the parts of you that you've kept hidden, and the parts you've shared with the world. Books are like mirrors. They don't just show you who you are. They help you understand why you feel the way you do. They give you a language for your heart. The first step in this journey is not about the words themselves, but about the hands that hold them. The pen, the quill, the keyboard, each carries the weight of intention, the tremor of possibility. Before the ink meets the paper, there is silence, a moment of stillness, a breath held between what is known and what is yet to be said. This is where memory begins to take shape, not as a recollection, but as a promise, a commitment to make the invisible visible, the unspoken spoken. The setup is not just the physical act of writing, but the quiet alchemy of intention. It is the first step in turning thought into form, and form into meaning. This is the moment before the story begins. It is the weight of the unknown, the gravity of what is to come, and the fragile hope that words might hold it all together. When the word is pressed into the page, it leaves a mark that can be traced, a trace that becomes a thread in the fabric of who we are. This mark is not just a sound made visible, but a memory made tangible. The ink holds the weight of the moment, the breath of the speaker, the pulse of the story. The word is a vessel, carrying the echo of voices long past. It holds the shape of a thought, the outline of a feeling, the imprint of a life. When we read, we are not just looking at letters. We are reaching into the past, grasping for the warmth of another's mind, the gravity of their truth. This is how memory is preserved, not in the mind, but in the ink. The written word is a bridge between the self and the past, between the individual and the collective. The clever twist is not in the story itself, but in the way it slips through the cracks of memory. It's the line you forget, the word you misread, the moment that feels just out of reach. This twist is the echo of a voice you thought you had heard before, but now it feels unfamiliar. It's the quiet moment when the narrative turns inward, and you realize you were never the protagonist. The twist is a mirror held up to the reader, not to reflect the story, but to reflect the self. It is the realization that the words you read are not just words, but the fragments of your own mind. This is the magic of the written word. It doesn't just tell you a story, it shows you yourself, in the shape of a stranger, in the language of a dream, in the silence between the lines. And in that moment of revelation, you are both the reader and the written. The twist is not an end, but a beginning, a return to the self, shaped by the stories you have carried within you all along. There is a quiet science to how words shape us, how they etch themselves into the marrow of memory. We are not just readers, we are vessels for stories that outlive us. Every word is a particle, a small but significant vibration in the universe of the mind. It travels through time, through space, and settles in the quiet corners of our consciousness. Language is not just a tool. It is the map we carry through the labyrinth of self. Without it, we would be lost, adrift in the sea of being without a shore. We write to remember, to preserve the fragile threads of whom we are. Every sentence is a stitch in the fabric of identity, woven with the ink of our deepest truths. And in this act of writing, we become both witness and witness to the past. Our words are echoes, carried forward through time, waiting to be heard by those who come after. Imagine a river, not one that flows, but one that remembers. It carries the echoes of every word ever written, every thought ever spoken, every memory etched into the soul of a person. This river isn't bound by time or space. It flows through the cracks of the earth, through the minds of the living, and into the bones of the dead. It's the silent witness to the stories we tell ourselves. The written word is like this river. It carries us forward, but it also pulls us back. It's the only thing that can hold on to the past without letting it fade. It's the only thing that can make us feel like we've never truly been lost. We are not the authors of our lives. We are just the rivers. We carry the stories, but we don't write them. We just let them flow, and in that flow, we find the shape of our own identity. Comment this emoji if you made it to the end. You've probably seen it. Some random clip from a village in Laos, or a protest in Sudan, or a family in the Arctic. All of it captured in perfect clarity, shared instantly across the world. It's strange, really. You can watch a child's birthday party in Mexico City, then scroll to a farmer in Kenya, then a protest in Iran, all in the span of minutes. But what does it mean when the world is no longer a place you visit, but a place you can experience from your couch? This isn't just about convenience. It's about connection. about how stories are no longer bound by borders or time, but by the speed of a signal. And so we find ourselves in an era where the world is both closer and more distant than ever, where the story is everywhere, but no one is really anywhere. We're talking about stories that cross borders, not just words or images, but entire worlds made accessible with a click. These are not just stories, they're shared experiences, shaped by culture, yet universal in their resonance. In the past, stories were local, regional, or national. Now they're global, moving with the speed of the internet and the weight of global events. This is not just about distribution, it's about connection. This globalization of stories brings both unity and tension. It allows us to see the world through others' eyes, but it also challenges our understanding of identity, truth, and what it means to belong. The digital age has made storytelling a shared responsibility. We are not just consumers. We are curators, interpreters, and sometimes even creators of the narratives that shape our global consciousness. As we navigate this new landscape, the question isn't just what we see, but how we see and how we choose to share what we see with the world. You might not think it matters, but the stories you consume shape how you see the world. Every headline, every clip, every meme is a thread in a larger tapestry of global understanding. When you choose to watch a film from another country or read a story from a different culture, you're not just entertained, you're building bridges between distant lives. In a world that's more connected than ever, the stories we tell and the stories we choose to ignore have real consequences on our empathy, our policies, and our future. So, yes, it might seem small, just a click, just a scroll, but every story you engage with is a choice that shapes the world you live in. We begin in 1839 with the invention of the daguerreotype. A single grainy image captures a world before the camera, a moment frozen in time, but not yet shared with the world. Then came the printing press, a tool that allowed ideas to travel faster than ever before. Books spread across continents, and with them, the first seeds of global storytelling. Television brought stories to our living rooms, transforming the way we consume culture. It was the first time for many that the world felt smaller and stories felt closer. The internet changed everything. Stories no longer needed gatekeepers, and the world became a vast interconnected space where voices from every corner could be heard. Today, we live in a world where a single post can reach millions, and a single voice can shape global conversations. This is the power of the digital age, and the weight of its stories. Imagine the whole world as one big book. Every person, every place, every story is a page in that book. Now, instead of waiting for someone to hand you the book, you can flip through it with just a click. Stories don't just travel. They grow, change, and mix like colors in a painting. A song from Brazil becomes part of a dance in Paris. A story from India helps shape a new way of thinking in Norway. That's why we need to listen to the stories that come from far away and to the stories that are close but not heard. Stories help us understand each other, even when we're not the same. So, in the end, the world isn't just bigger, it's smarter. Because stories, when shared, help us see the world not just as it is, but as it could be. In the digital age, storytelling has become a global conversation. Every click, share, and view is a ripple in a vast ocean of narratives, connecting people across time zones and cultures. At the heart of this connection is the platform, the digital space where stories are born, shared, and transformed. It's the bridge between the creator and the audience, often unseen, but always present. The setup begins with content creation, a moment of intention, where a story is shaped, edited, and given voice. This is where authenticity meets technology, and where the first step of the journey is taken. But it's not just about the message. It's also about the medium. The choice of platform, the format, the style. Each decision adds a layer to the story's reach and resonance. In this setup, the creator is both the architect and the participant. They craft the story, but they also become part of a larger narrative that is constantly evolving and being reinterpreted. Once a story is created, it must be packaged for the digital world. This isn't just about formatting. It's about adapting the story to fit the platforms, the algorithms, and the expectations of the audience. Each platform has its own language, its own rules. A story for Instagram is visual and fast-paced, while a YouTube video requires structure and depth. The creator must translate the original message into the language of the platform. Behind the scenes, algorithms decide what gets seen. These are complex systems that prioritize engagement, relevance, and speed. A story must not only be good, but also be optimized to meet these hidden criteria. This optimization process often means sacrificing depth for reach. The story is no longer just a story. It's a product, designed to be consumed in seconds, shared in clicks, and forgotten in scrolls. Yet, the mechanism isn't just about technology. It's also about human behavior, about what we want, what we need, and what we're willing to pay attention to in a world of infinite choices. The clever twist begins when algorithms don't just recommend content, but they shape what people think they want. It's not just about what you click on, it's about what you come to believe is missing. This is the invisible hand of the algorithm, pulling stories out of the noise and into the spotlight, often without the user even realizing they've been guided. It's a kind of narrative engineering. Sometimes the twist is more than just a recommendation. It's a manipulation of context. A story isn't just told. It's framed, filtered, and sometimes even recontextualized to fit a certain narrative. This is where the line between truth and influence blurs. The clever twist isn't just about control. It's about the power to shape perception without ever being seen as the architect. And so, the algorithm becomes a storyteller in its own right. Not with words, but with data, attention, and the slow, insidious shaping of what we think we know. Behind every click and scroll lies a complex web of algorithms, designed to predict what we want to see before we even realize it. These systems learn from our habits, our likes, our dislikes, curating a world that feels personal, yet is shaped by unseen hands. The science of recommendation engines is not just about data. It's about shaping perception, subtly influencing what we believe and how we feel. In the quiet hum of servers and the flicker of code, the digital world is built on a foundation of precision and psychology. This is the invisible pulse of modern media, a science that moves at the speed of light, shaping the stories we see and the world we believe in. Imagine the world as a giant, invisible tapestry. Each thread a story, each knot a culture. We weave it together, but often without knowing where the thread began or where it's going. The digital age has made this tapestry both more vibrant and more chaotic. Stories flow freely, but the patterns become harder to read, and the loom itself is now a global network of screens and satellites. We're all part of the weaving now, even if we don't realize it. Our voices are threads, our clicks are knots, and our attention is the loom that determines what gets pulled tighter or left to fray. It's gloriously done, in the best way. We don't need to understand the whole tapestry to be part of it. We just need to keep weaving, even if we don't know where the thread ends. In the end, the tapestry is not just about what we see, but what we choose to include. It's not about perfection, but about participation. And that's the most powerful story of all. Comment this emoji if you made it to the end. You know that feeling when you hear a story that just stops you? Like the world slows down and you're not sure if you're still breathing. Stories don't just entertain them. They crack open something deep. They remind you that even in silence, there's a voice. And sometimes those stories aren't just about what happened. They're about what could be. They're the ones that don't just tell a tale. They challenge the world, one word at a time. So today, we're diving into the power of storytelling. Not just as art, but as resistance. So, what exactly are we talking about? Let me start by asking you a question. Have you ever felt like your story wasn't being heard? Like your voice was drowned out by louder, more powerful voices? That's the heart of storytelling as resistance. It's about giving voice to the voiceless, telling stories that challenge the status quo, and refusing to let dominant narratives control the conversations. These stories are powerful because they don't just inform, they move people. They spark empathy, ignite curiosity, and sometimes even push the boundaries of what's acceptable in society. Stories can be written, spoken, or even painted. But what matters most is that they're told from a perspective that's often ignored or suppressed. That's where the real power lies. So when we talk about storytelling as resistance, we're not just talking about books or movies. We're talking about the way people share their experiences, challenge injustices, and imagine a better world. You might think storytelling is just about entertainment, but it's also about survival. Every story you've ever heard was told to keep you safe, to help you understand the world, or to help you fight back. Think about the bedtime stories you grew up with. They weren't just fairy tales. They taught you how to see the world, how to feel hope, how to believe in change. Stories are how we remember who we are and what we stand for. They're how we pass down our values, our struggles, and our dreams to the next generation. You don't have to be a famous writer or activist to change the world with your story. Every voice matters, and every story has the power to shift the tide. So, the next time you tell a story, remember, you're not just sharing words. You're building a world where resistance is possible, and change is real. Let's fast forward to the 18th century. In the Caribbean, enslaved Africans told stories of freedom, resistance, and escape through oral traditions. These tales weren't just entertainment. They were survival tools, passed down in whispers and coded in rhythm. Then came the 1960s. Civil rights leaders used storytelling to inspire millions. Martin Luther King Jr. didn't just speak. He told a story of justice, of a beloved community that could be built through courage and unity. In the 1980s, South African activists used storytelling to resist apartheid. They shared the stories of loved ones in prison, of peaceful protests, and of a future where all people could live with dignity and equality. Today, storytelling continues to be a form of resistance. From grassroots movements to digital platforms, people around the world are using their voices to challenge power and demand justice. So, in just a few centuries, storytelling has transformed from a tool of survival into a powerful act of defiance. And it's still going strong, still changing the world. Imagine you're playing with your toys and someone says, "You can't do that." But you keep building, and one day, your tower is the tallest. That's storytelling as resistance. You're saying, "I matter." When you tell a story, you're not just talking. You're saying, "This is real, and this is how it matters." Even if the world says, "No," you're building something new. When you tell a story, you're not just sharing something. You're giving the world a new way to see the world. That's power, and it starts with you. So when the world says, "You can't," just keep building. Because every story you tell is a brick in a tower that says, "We are here, and we are not going away." So, storytelling as resistance starts with a setup. A moment that pulls you in, makes you feel something, and sets the stage for a bigger truth to unfold. This is where the story begins. It's not just about what happens next, but about the world you're stepping into and the emotions you're already feeling. It's not just a scene, it's a question. What if this is true? What if this moment matters more than we think? The setup is the hook, the spark that makes you lean in and ask, what happens next? It's the first step in telling a story that refuses to be ignored. In the setup, you don't just describe a moment. You create a space where resistance begins to take shape. So, the first step is to find your story. Now, the second step is to build the mechanism. That means figuring out how your story connects to the power structures you want to challenge. This mechanism is like a key. It needs to be precise. It needs to fit the lock of the system you're trying to change. It's about mapping the relationships between your story and the forces that control the narrative. You don't just tell a story. You engineer it. That means knowing which parts of your story will resonate, which parts will challenge, and which parts will inspire action. This step is all about strategy. You're not just telling a story. You're creating a tool that can be shared, remembered, and passed on to others who need it. The mechanism is the bridge between your story and the world. It's the way you turn a personal truth into a collective force. And that's how you start to shift the balance of power. So the clever twist isn't just a surprise. It's a way to make the audience think, to question what they thought they knew. It's like the story takes a sharp turn, and you're left wondering, wait, what just happened? This twist doesn't just catch people off guard. It forces them to re-examine the story's meaning. Maybe the hero wasn't the hero all along, or the villain had a reason that makes you rethink everything. The clever twist is also a way to challenge power structures. It turns the story into a mirror, reflecting the hidden truths that those in power might want to keep buried. It's not just about shock. It's about making the audience feel something. It's a moment that lingers, a question that stays with them long after the story ends. The clever twist is the spark that turns a simple story into a movement. It's not just entertainment. It's a way to make people feel seen, heard, and ready to change the world. You know, the science of storytelling isn't just about words. It's about the rhythm, the pause, the way a story lands in your chest like a heartbeat. It's how a simple phrase can make you feel seen, heard, and ready to fight. Stories are not just culture. They're data. They're how we process trauma, how we build solidarity, how we remember who we are when the world tries to make us forget. The science is in the way a story can change neural pathways, how it can shift perspectives, how it can make the impossible feel like a mission worth fighting for. And that's why stories are more than just resistance. They're revolution. They're the quiet force that moves mountains, one word at a time. So imagine, if you will, a giant bouncy ball of glitter. It's everywhere, bouncing around, making noise, and people are trying to ignore it. But the glitter is just telling its story, and it's not going away. The glitter ball isn't asking for attention. It's just existing, just telling its story. And it's hard to look away because it's so damn bright and loud and real. That glitter ball is storytelling. It's resistance. It's a refusal to be ignored. A way of saying, I exist, I matter, and I have something to say. So, if you're feeling overwhelmed by the weight of the world, remember, you don't have to be loud or perfect. Just be glitter. Be seen. Be heard. Comment this emoji if you made it to the end.